Hey everyone, my name is Colin Wilcox with Extraordinary Concepts, where I and we put extra in front of ordinary. If you want to be extraordinary, you got to put extra in front of ordinary. That's just the way it goes. So today we're going to be talking about social media and the digital world out there. It's crazy. It's just getting busier and busier, and it's out of control. You know, we didn't always have to do this kind of stuff, and now we're jumping through hoops and doing all kinds of stuff. So I'm going to go through this and sort of see what you think. I think I got a solution where there's we can combat the algorithms. We can actually talk to 100% of our customers 100% of the time and get up to 3 minutes of their attention opposed to 1.7 seconds. If that sounds interesting to you, I'd love you to just kind of go through these slides with me. And here we are, so it's the problem. We have limited control. Here I am down the bottom right hand corner. We have limited control, and we have no control over the limited control. That's just the way it is. And this is what I'm talking about. So when we put all our hard work into trying to present our brand into social media, and actually, ideally, we'd like to get customers to come in. That's sort of what we're doing. But what's really happening, it's not social media anymore. It's interest media. So basically, algorithms tell you your customers what they want you to do. They want the platforms want to keep you on their platform as long as possible. They don't really care whether you actually they see you or not, unless you pay them. Then they'll try to do their best to give you that, but even that's out of control. So here it is. We do all the content, and it all goes into this digital marketing tree. And as we do our content and we hand it off to the algorithms, they decide who sees it or not. And that's sort of a limited control. That's not necessarily great. And then, the algorithms are sort of telling us what we have to do. We can't just post pictures anymore. We can't just post text. We actually have to do videos, and it have to be something that a customer would actually want to see and be excited about it. But we're restaurant people. We don't really need or want to do all that kind of stuff. We have to get that skill set, which was unfortunate. So we're building up content. We're building up assets that we never really had to do in the past. And they want us to tell stories. So here they are asking us to tell stories. And they still haven't given one view to their customers that we actually want to get in touch with, but they're having us tell these stories. They want us to dance for us. TikTok has created all that kind of stuff. So they want us to dance. Give me some shorts. I want to sort of see some activity. The reason they want to see all this activity is because they're basically asking you to create entertaining content so customers will stay on their platform, not necessarily stay with you, because it's only 1.7 seconds is the average right now on social media. And then you're begging them. So come on, I did all that kind of stuff. Please let my customers see me, And so they might be, say, okay, well, let me tell you, I'll give you this one customer can actually see you, So now one customer sees all the work that you've done. And I don't think many restaurant people actually realize this. I think they think that, they send it out to this digital world and the entire planet's looking at them and, they feel that exposed, but it's not at all that. I found a crazy statistic, which the amount of content that is produced every day is like everybody on the planet is doing 15 hours of brand new content. I was posting 15 hours of brand new content a day. That's insane. And so actually, if you want to get, some interaction, not a lot, not a ton, you have to pay, so you got to pay the social media mafia. And that's, little Zuckerberg up there on the guy's shoulder. And I think next year, 2026, he's going to be doing an AI digital agency, which you can actually pay him and he'll take his AI agency and make some of your customers sort of see him. Which again, he's just getting money, and it's just sort of, it's making our organic content, which a lot of restaurants are doing. I'm seeing most of our restaurants do organic content. They don't want to pay, but you really are paying. You're paying in time, you're paying in product, and so on. So at the end of the day, you're still paying, and you're getting very little results. I'm not sure. I don't care who you are. You're not necessarily getting people pouring in the door because you threw something on social media. And this is sort of your thoughts. You post something, you say, hey, look at this beautiful burger. I put it on social media, and the entire planet is looking at it. But also one thing about this entire planet is that there are no non-buyers, so these people are just being entertained on social media. They're just scrolling through and being entertained. So they're non-buyers. They're not going to drop everything and just go run to your restaurant because you posted a pretty burger picture. That's not happening. And then this is what the reality is. Only 5% of your followers or less. I think even Facebook's up to 2% now. 2 to 5%. Instagram might be a little better than that. But essentially, only 1 to 5% actually see your content. And out of that 5%, there's still non-buyers. So it's kind of disappointing, and we feel trapped because the algorithms are really the ones that are determining what's going on. And we have to hand off all our creative content to the algorithms and say, hey, please, let my customers see this, would you? And then, like I was saying, 1.7 seconds, and they're all distracted scrolling. So it's not like they're 1.7 seconds, they're just stopping and looking at you and paying attention, and then they remember that. I don't know if anybody's actually scrolled, but when you're done scrolling, can you actually remember anything that you actually saw? You can't with 1.7 seconds. It's really ridiculous, actually. But that's it. So they'll scroll past you and onto the next, onto the next, onto the next. So, and then after we create all of this is a kind of a crazy one for me. And you can see it on your Instagram profiles or your Facebook, mostly on Instagram. You can see all the creative content that somebody might have created. And they work hard. They think of scripts. They think of what to do. They do acts. They dance. They jump. They have staff involved, all that. And once the content's actually created and then you actually post it, then on Facebook, I believe it's only 2 hours. It lasts only 2 hours on their platform before they're throwing in other things. And I think on Instagram, it's up to 20 hours, but less than a day. Less than a day that sits there, and I call it the digital marketing or digital world sea. Goes into the ocean, starts to sink to the bottom, and it's not ever pulled up. So this is all this content that you've created. Now, if it's not dated and it's not like it's just basically you doing your thing, I'm saying like reuse it, So this is it. After that's done, we repeat, repeat, rinse and repeat, usually they say, but repeat, return. So you can't stop. You got to keep doing this. So you're constantly feeding that monster, feeding the algorithms, which is exactly what the giant tech companies want you to do. It's basically you're building their own free entertainment content to keep customers on the platform. So this is the reality of us, so we're doing a non-geographical approach. And, so you get that circle and see that circle right there. That's a 5 to 10 mile radius. That's our business. We are a geographical business. So everything within the 5 to 10 mile radius is our business. 95% of the population, 95% of our business is within that circle. Anything outside that is a tourist or other things. And then if you're a non-geographical business like e-commerce or other things, then 95% of your business is outside that circle. But when we get like 1,000 likes or all kinds of stuff, or we go viral, it kind of gets ridiculous because none of those people are actually going to come to our location because they can't get there. They're too far away. So they may just pass on by. They get some other things to look at. So the statistics are only 5% actually see a post, and out of that 5% of that actually can convert to a sale. So it's very low. And I'm not suggesting by any means you don't do this. This is sort of the trap that we're in, and we can't stop. But I'm just saying that it's got to have other options here to sort of actually get into the buying customers and get into their mind and say, this is what we do. This is our product. This is our brand. And, get them excited about you. So after you create all that content, excuse me, our little coffee. Here we are. So now you've created all the content and you got all these digital assets that you've worked really hard at. And, and most of them are dated or seasonal. It's a lot of just pretty neat things that you've done. So what do you do with this content? It's just sort of sitting there. I think you guys probably put it on social media and you don't even have access to it because once it's on Instagram, I think you can probably pull it out if you're the administrator, but essentially you're just on to the next piece of content and thinking of the next thing. So what do you do with all this stuff? A solution. There is a solution, and I've been working on this for quite some time, and I'm ready to sort of unveil some of these options that you have. And it's an option. This is not something that you only do. This is something that, it's that and this, I call it real connection, having a real connection with your customers. So what's a real connection? It's basically we're taking all the content that you've used over the time and we're going to recycle it. We pull it all back and we put it in a nice, neat little package and then actually, make a nice little presentation and for tables and have the actual customers enjoy what you've been actually creating over the years. We want to go where the eyeballs go, and the eyeballs are going, that's what the big industries are doing. They're all looking for the eyeballs. They want your attention. We're trying to get their attention by sending it on social media. We're not getting attention. We only get 1.7 seconds. So when they actually cross the threshold into your business, now you have an opportunity to buying customers that are actually in your business to get their attention. Use your eyeballs, present your brand, present what you do, present promotions and all the things. And they're not looking at flyers on the wall. I call that dirty art. They're not looking at A-frames and all that kind of stuff. They just walk on by, that kind of stuff. So we go where the eyes are. They're on your cell phones, they're on the TVs, and they're on the menus. So if we can grasp that and get their attention there, then we have much better chance for success and giving them a visual experience. So here we are. So we're actually creating your own in-house platform. So with that little QR code, if you scan that QR code, we can bring it up to your own customized platform. So, that's sort of how customers are receiving communication these days. Receiving it through video. They don't want to see pictures. They don't want to read text. They don't want to go through websites. Websites are only like 40 seconds. They spend that much time on a website. Essentially, they're just looking for the menu. But if you actually have somebody scan your QR code and entice them to do that, have contests, have promotions, have things in that, then you can give them a visual experience, having your own in-house platform on their device. Also, you can incorporate it into the TVs. So they're looking at your TVs. I'm not sure why people aren't taking advantage of their TVs. 85% of the time the TVs are on, it's talking heads. Nobody's watching these things. If you ever go to a restaurant, you look around, nobody's watching them. They're looking at their phone or or just, if they're looking at the TV, that means they just don't want to talk to you. So that's what's sort of happening. But in reality, these are devices. All these screens are digital devices, and you need to take control of them, and you need to take advantage of being able to put your content on them. I mean, with the technology out there, you can do all kinds of crazy stuff. So I don't know why we're not doing it. But I'm suggesting you do it. That's kind of an option, that I'm working on as far as going from the phone to your TVs, to your menus, all that kind of stuff. So, and when I talk about this stuff, this is 100% your buying customers. So on social media and stuff, you're not even on your buying customers. First, they're not buying. And second, they're not even near your restaurant. Some are, very few. These are people that are actually in your restaurant, experiencing your restaurant and buying, like buying right now. So you can get them to buy more. If you can get them to stay a little longer, you can get them to come back. All that is substantial increase in business, substantial. And it's also your own creative content. This is your creative content. This is the stuff that you've been working at so hard, all the things that you do. But if we can strategically create content that actually kind of gets the customers more engaged with what's going on with your brand, then you hit a home run. You can get them to come back. You can get them you can tell them stories. It'd be a slide down or two, but I call this infotainment. And that's sort of what we are. We're infotainers. So we're going to inform them and entertain them at the same time. And here we are. So if we display that, and we display it on the phones, we display it on the TVs, then we actually can get an actual up to 3 minutes of their undistracted attention. So imagine actually having 300 people in your restaurant, maybe 100 or 200 people of them actually get 3 minutes of undistracted content. What is happening there? Hold on. I have a technical difficulty here for a second. Let me just fix that. It just came up on my speakers. We don't like that. I don't want to echoing. So anyway, let's get out of that thing. I apologize for that little distraction we got going on. So again, these are 100% of your buying customers, and they're actually seeing the content that you're creating for 3 minutes. So if you have events, promotions, things that are going on, they'll actually know about them. And then so what this is all together, it's a social media, it's website, it's a menu, and it's TV. All those items combined, that's where their eyeballs are. And that's sort of what this concept we're talking about, the real connection is all about. So it's basically real connection. It's having a baby. So all those things come together and we have a baby. Infotainment. So that's what we want to do, people. We want to try to take control. I mean, this, and then also here we go into our geographical thing, where we're actually paying attention to our geographics, our 5 to 10 mile radius, where 95% of our customers are. And that's where we're going to focus. That's what we're talking about. We're talking about building the business from the inside out, not from the outside in. And when you build it from the inside out, then you can do community things and so on. But if you can communicate with your customers the way they want to be communicated through visual devices, then you have much better chance of success in increasing sales. It's just common sense, people. This is where people are now. They're on their phones, they're on their devices, they're looking at TVs, they look at screens. Their screen time is more than their sleep time, or just as close. So we want to recycle our content. We're going to have more sales, we're going to have more retention, we have more returns, more dwell time, and more branding. All those things are very realistic and very easy to do when you actually have your customer base, the ones that are buying, the ones that are in your restaurant, the ones that are actually like your restaurant. They're all here. And then you take the content that you work so hard at and recycle it back into the system. But your control, there's no algorithms telling you what to do. There's no, you get algorithms and they just change. It's like, what do we do on YouTube now? I don't know. You have to do this. They're not doing this. Or, you can't get to websites. And artificial intelligence is here and it's coming strong. And that's just going to take that digital world and just make it a real mucky muck mess. So if you guys want to leave a comment on this video, if you put real connection, I will be picking three restaurants. I'm going to do a beta test in 3 restaurants. It doesn't really matter where you're located. You have to be located in the United States, but I'll be willing to work with you for this whole beta test of real connections. And this is what we need to do, people. We need to sort of innovate. I always say, apply AI, which is apply innovation. It's all coming, and we need to really make sure that we're have other opportunities, because the digital world, I know everybody feels the pressure and the strain and all the things. I got to get content. I got to put it out every day. I got to hire influencers. I got to do all that kind of stuff. But in reality, you build business from the inside, restaurant business from the inside out. And if you can communicate to the customers they want to be communicated, the way they want to be communicated to, and actually have their undivided attention, then you have a much better chance of success. So my name is Colin Wilcox, Extraordinary Concepts. You got to put extra in front of ordinary to be extraordinary. And I'll see you guys at the next video.